G'day folks, welcome back to Pete's Investing. 27th of March 2024. This is the SP500 update, the NASDAQ, the GermanDax and the Japanese Nikkei. So looking at the trend table first off, again, most of them are being bullish on the US, German, Japanese and NASDAQ markets on the monthly, weekly and daily. We've got a couple of neutral positions there, so just be careful of a reversal, and it could be a start of a potential downturn. Doesn't mean a crash, could just be in a bit of a retrace to the downside on a lot of these markets, or if not all the markets. We'll start off with the US market first, the S&P 500. So you can see the CCI 1500 on the daily still in a very strong bullish momentum, although we do have and have had this bearish divergence on the CCI 150 versus higher highs on the price, and that's still moving to the upside. We've adjusted the resistance up here a number of times, and it's currently at 52.61. And for that to change, we need to see a bit more of a break to the downside. And that's what we're looking at on the hourly. You can see here on the hourly chart, the stochastic market forecast here is very much overbought and has been for a number of months. We need to see it break a lot lower, and especially below the 50 mark, to be bearish. And if we zoom in, then we look at the CCI 150 on the 1 hour time frame. You can see there we've had a few bearish divergence and they fell off. Even during this bullish run, we've had a few bearish movements to the downside. There's another bearish movement there, for example. There's quite a number of them here versus the equivalent points on the price chart. You can see there that fell off, and the way you would have looked at that is we pick the Fibonacci range, and it always picks. You can see that it's broken just below the 61%, and then it bounced from there. So there were a few of these happening across the board. Now currently there was one more recently here, a bearish divergence on the CCI 150 versus higher highs on the price, came down, hit our target. Now it's actually fallen below that 38% level, so you possibly may come a bit lower. You can see there the CCI 1500 is still declining. It's below its moving average. And the CCI 150 likewise is still declining, so no sign of a reversal yet, even though the last few hours are showing some minor bullish movement, retrace to the upside. Next, we're going to look at the German DAX. Now the German DAX, they've all got the same sort of pattern. So if you look at the CCI 1500, still very bullish, has been for a number of months now. The CCI 150 also is showing a bearish divergence versus higher highs on the price. And again, we've drawn our minimum target range as assuming it pulls back from that level. It could go higher, of course, in which case we'll just adjust it. Now on the hourly chart, if I zoom out first off, looking at the stochastic market forecast, very much overbought. It has been that way for a number of months, as I said, similar to the daily. But if I zoom in, we did have a bearish divergence here versus the price for our last video. Now I'm going to adjust that. So long as the CCI has lower highs, oops, let me just move that there. And we've got higher highs on the price. That now gets to be adjusted. So what we do is we adjust the target, and that target now goes. Let me just redraw that. So that now becomes a new target area between the 23 and the 38% level. That's a minimum target. Of course, it can fall much further. Now notice, coincidentally, that 61% lines up with that diagonal trend line. So that could be an omen, possibly. So we'll just be aware of that as we move forward. I'll leave that Fibonacci in there for the time being. That's the German DAX. Next, we'll look at the Japanese Nikkei. And the Japanese Nikkei has got a very similar pattern on the daily. CCI 1500 very bullish for a number of months. Bearish divergence on the CCI 150 versus higher highs on the price. Hit this resistance at 41,163. On the daily, again zooming out, looking at the stochastic market forecast, we had a bit of it was overbought, and it actually pulled back a number of times. You can see there if I zoom in. So that was the first pullback. It came down quite substantially. Again, then continued up to be in the overbought territory. Now zooming in, we've had a few bearish divergence here versus the price, and actually pulled back each time. We're currently still sitting in, well, in this bearish divergence here versus higher highs on the price, pull back, hit our target, and bouncing up from there. So we may see further upside here. You'll notice the CCI 1500 is still below its moving average, although starting to make some slight bullish movement to the upside. So just be careful about going long until we see a more substantial move on the hourly as well. And lastly, we'll look at the NASDAQ. And on the NASDAQ, very similar to the other market charts, we've got bullish movement on the CCI 1500, bearish divergence on the CCI 150 versus higher highs on the price, and we've got a target set here. It's actually bounced twice off that resistance at 18,465. If we zoom into the hourly chart, again you can see there it's been hovering around the overbought territory for a number of times, had a few pullbacks during that period, and if I zoom in, we're still in the overbought territory. Currently there's no divergence. That's the CCI is falling off in line with the price. There's lower highs on the CCI, lower highs on the price. We did have a couple of bearish divergence back here, so they all executed nicely. So again, just be careful about going long on all markets. They all seem to be showing a bearish divergence even though they're trending up. So we will see a change once they break below these trend lines on all the markets, especially below when the CCI starts breaking to the downside like it did back here. And again, it could only be a retrace like it was back here, or it could be a further decline, a much bigger decline, as the markets are all predicting so far. To support us more, go to the Patreon page for Pete's Investing, where we also do weekly scans of blue chip shares that are trending along on a longer and medium term timeframes. Feel free to support us there, and we'll see you in a future video.